was given a no try for a double movement, wasn't it? And I can understand why it went up as a no try, because there was nothing that Liam Moore could see live to necessarily say that the ball had got put down. But I don't know if he went up saying he thinks it's a double movement. I didn't pick up on that part or not. But I thought that was a bit harsh, and I on video replay would have been leaning towards a try. I thought the defender kind of
pushed him over the line,
rolled him over a bit,
it was difficult to see. I think, as we know, if there's nothing conclusive, they tend to go the same way as the referee. He was clearly short.
Which is what the system's designed for, because we don't have one every game.
It was clearly short initially, and then it was tricky to see after that. I agree. I think it was a little bit of a turning point. Wire would have been right back in at that point, and they never really, despite the late sort of charge when Leeds started losing players to the sin bin, they never really threatened again, really, until the game was well and truly over.
And Leeds did score some nice tries as well within that. Was it Sutcliffe? No.
Yeah, that was
Sutcliffe's try, was it?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, was it Sutcliffe down the wing who then...
Oh, Mellor's try, sorry. It was Mellor's try from Hanley's break down the wing, wasn't it?
It was a really nice bit of play. Really nice bit of play.
And Handley looked back in form, which is good news. Especially because he looked injured, didn't he, in the... when he had his comeback, he looked injured, and he picked up a knock in the England game, didn't he? But I think he looked good in this game.
He did, and it's the first time I've seen Leeds this year, and I've thought, actually, they look like a half-decent team. I know they've won other games this year, but this is Warrington were on a roll. Other than Catalan, Warrington looked the strongest side over the last month in the league. So for Leeds to go down there and turn them over, I think that's a sign that Leeds are starting to come.
Oh yeah, nothing but positives for Leeds, really, other than the Broadbent injury that we talked about in the news. Because I think Liam Sutcliffe has played 2 games at fullback in a row, and other than the sin bin in, which was, it was deserved. It was very similar to the Morgan Escaray one, wasn't it, a few weeks ago, where he's gone high on a man who was just stepping in, probably going to score, but not certainly going to score, but probably. So it was a deserved sin bin in that he picked up at the back end of the game. For him, but before that and outside of that, he'd played 2 really good games at fullback for Leeds in absence of suspended players.
Yeah, no, I thought it was, and I really enjoyed the game. I thought it was a good game, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing how Leeds and Catalan go this weekend.
Charnley's injury will be a worry for Warrington. I think wing is maybe a position where they're not super deep, but it'll probably give Connor Wrench another chance, won't it, to get some game time. But it looked like it's really hurt his hand there, so it'll be interesting to see what the follow-up from that is, because he was in pain for most of the game. He did it tough playing on from when he first injured it. It felt like just after half-time he'd been holding it, and...
he was very brave to go through with scoring his try, to be quite honest, because it looked like it cost him a lot of pain when he did.
Yeah, maybe he could have done it better, because he had so much time and space on that one from the kick across from Austin, that maybe he could have just made sure he only had it in his other hand or something, and didn't need to fall over as well. He didn't need to fall over.
No, just put the bloody ball down. Yeah. Anyway, poor chap. I hope his arm's all right.
Yeah, should we be worried for Warrington after this game, or do we just think after a tough run of fixtures, you're not going to win them all?
It's really difficult to tell, isn't it? That's the problem, because we're having games called off for COVID and other people forfeiting games, and the schedule has got some teams playing once every 4 days and some teams playing once every 3 weeks. It's really difficult to put a line of form through. I think Warrington have been on a very good run, as Catalan have been on a very good run. I'm not sure I would read too much into it. Let's see how Warrington come back
I think when they get Widdop back in, and this game actually screamed out that Williams will make a difference to this side because Austin and Ratchford weren't working great.
No, they weren't. No, they weren't.
But well done to Leeds.
Yeah. There we go.
Another comment about one of the called-off games, Huddersfield versus Castleford. Neil Ormston got in touch. He said, I get that things are tough, but this cancelling of games is a disgrace to the game. He's not mincing his words again on this. He said, my own team have stuck out teams of kids and reserves several times in the past year for the greater good. Other teams don't seem to have this mindset and treat games as optional. If they really wanted to play this game, they could. I've no doubt of that. No peacetime walkovers in 125 years of league footy and now 3 in 9 months. Pathetic. I also say no non-COVID time walkovers in 125. No non-pandemic time walkovers in 125 years of rugby league.
I think I take his point though, Mark, that it's almost becoming a bit of an easier option than I think it ought to be. I wouldn't want it to become the norm that teams felt they could forfeit a game tactically. If we're getting towards the end of the season and a team have got a tough run with a few games to catch up or something like that, and then start to tactically forfeit the odd game, which might benefit them in the league, because they want to save their forces for a game that they think is more important. That starts to undermine the integrity of the whole league. I don't like that idea at all. There ought to be, I think we need to be careful that we don't go down that route. We don't end up in that situation.
I think the initial instinct could have been to have a question over the Cas game, especially because of what they've got to come and the fact that they named a full squad of first team players for this game that was then cancelled. Huddersfield didn't do the blow by blow, line by line, this player can't play, that player can't play for these reasons, but they're so desperate that it looks like they're going to be bringing in Peets and Petteroo on loan from Lee. So that's how desperate they are for players, that they're bringing players in from Lee. So yeah, I think there's, but it is hard to take, isn't it? That this is happening so frequently. I come back to the point that a big part of it was this schedule where we've crammed all these games in.
Exactly, and that's been a big mistake, and I think as I say, sadly, I think it's going to get worse. I mean, I want to be clear. I'm not at all suggesting Huddersfield ought to and could have, fulfill this fixture. But I do agree with Neil's point that it's getting a bit worrying. It's getting a little bit frequent, and we need to keep an eye on this.
Yeah, because it does feel a bit too easy.
Then that's not a good thing.
Yeah, and I also had a little bit of a problem around how easily Salford were able to get to 7 COVID cases the other week after we knew for a fact that half the team was suspended or injured as well. And what do the serious case review team do looking at that? Do we get to hear that sort of stuff? I don't know, but it is worrying that games are getting... Because, we've talked about it enough. Yeah. Standings. Catalans stay top with 90.91% win rate. St Helens are second on 81.82, so quite a big gap there. Warrington are third on 73.08, and Hull FC climb to fourth, and Hull FC and Hull KR climbed to 4th and 5th respectively without playing. They're on 68 and 60%. Wigan fall to 6th on 58.3% after 5 successive defeats. Leeds are on 54.55. They're in 7th, ahead of Cass on 46%, Wakefield on 33%, Huddersfield on 25%. I don't think their cancelling of games was anything to help their league position. Salford on 18%. Lee are, of course, winless at the bottom. Stat line of the week would obviously have been Jake Mamo for his 3 tries and however many millions of metres he got against Wigan, but because we don't have that stat, I'm just going to say it's Jake Mamo anyway to make sure he retains that positive reinforcement that we missed out on.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's right.
Who's your player of the week?
Player of the week, I would say, I think it's got to be from the Warrington Leeds game, I think. So I'm going to say Liam Sutcliffe, I think, as my player of the week. I thought he had a very good game all round, and he's someone I've always felt had a lot of very good press going his way, but I've been watching him a little bit this year, and I think he's starting to fulfil some of that promise that we've heard about from him.
I'm going to stick with Leeds, but I'm going to think more over the whole week, the 2 games. So obviously we've had the 3 teams that have successfully managed to play both games, and Leeds are the only one that won both games. And within that, there's a bigger storyline, isn't there, about the 3 Leeds players who've played 4 games in 2 weeks.
Good point.
And I'm going to say Matt Pryor was a standout in both of the 2 games for Leeds.
Actually. Yeah, that's a really good shout, Mark.
So I with a nod as well to Oledsky and Leeming, but I'm going to say Matt Pryor.
Yeah, no, that's a good shout, mate. That's a good shout.
Highlight of the week. Well, it's not from the Wigan against Saints game, is it?
No, no, it isn't. The try we talked about before was I thought the best try I'd seen this week, where I think it was Sutcliffe was down the outside and then pulled it back inside.
Yeah, he slipped Hanley out, didn't he, just to finish that run off, and then he went back inside to Mellor. Yeah, I can't argue with that.
That was a nice try.
Can't argue with that at all. Highlight of the week was some of these reviews. Neil coming with the fire, Lee and Alan coming with the comedy. That's where I'm going with that. In terms of predictions, me and Sarah both went 3 out of 5 last week. After predicting 7 or 8 games, we both went 3 out of 5. In the host Superoo, Alan is top, David is second, Sarah is third, Tim is fourth, and I am last. I have remembered to do my predictions this week, though. I don't remember what they are, but I've done some. So in the main Superbrew, Simon Lee stays top. So he's counting his way to the top. There is the Cass Van Simon, and last year's winner Steve Pye has the yellow cap this week. So refinding some of his previous form is Hull fan Steve. Thanks everyone for all their fan views on those games. I don't think we did them as quick as I was expecting to, because we fell down the rabbit holes, didn't we, of referees and cancellations and those sort of things. But we're now going to move to a relatively fan review sparse other results section.
So, in other results, for the Women's Super League, it was Leeds 56, Warrington 0. York had a walkover over Bradford, 24-0. It was Featherstone 10, Wigan 36, Huddersfield 40, Wakefield 14, and Castleford 6, St Helens 38.
Yeah, so that has the standings seeing Leeds and Wigan retaining their 100% records at the top. Saints are just behind on 80%, with Cass on 60% completing the top 4. York are outside the top 4 on points difference percentage only. They also have 60%. Warrington, Featherstone and Huddersfield all have 33%, with Bradford on 16%. Wakefield are unfortunately yet to get off the mark at the bottom. They could have done with playing Bradford this week.
They could have done, couldn't they? And in the Championship, it was round 12. It was Featherstone Rovers 63, London 14, and we have a review on this from Dr. Hideous.
Yep, and Dave said, excellent Fev defence and lovely dance moves in attack. London's defence was inconsistent, and when it went wrong, it went awful. The match wasn't on our league, so I watched it on Fev TV, where the commentators were amusingly one-eyed, with bonus mention of ferrets.
Sounds brilliant. Bradford 30, Batley 16. It was Dewsbury 18, Sheffield 18. So that's an interesting game. Whitehaven 36, Swinton 22, York 26, Newcastle 28, That was a great game. I caught some of that on the radio, actually. Halifax 17, Widnes 16. So some really tight games.